Well, let me just point out, you just said we follow the law, but you haven't followed the law. Under oath, during your confirmation hearings, you sat here and you said, I will absolutely follow the law. But yet, for 9 quarters since President Biden took office, the department has held only 1 lease sale. So I don't know how you consider that following the law. So the question again is, will you commit to resuming oil and gas lease sales each and every quarter going forward as required by law? Yes or no?
Senator, we will always follow the law.
You haven't been following the law. Yes or no? Please answer the question, yes or no. Will you commit, sitting here, to resuming oil and gas lease sales each and every quarter going forward as required by law?
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. You just saw that opening clip, and man, Senator John Barrasso is not playing games today. We are reacting to a Senate hearing where Barrasso is basically taking Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland to task for what looks like a total disregard for federal law. Look, as someone who follows American politics closely, there is nothing more frustrating than watching a government official look a senator in the eye and say, "We follow the law," when the actual data shows they're doing the exact opposite. Barrasso is out here fighting for American energy independence, lower gas prices, and, most importantly, the rule of law. He's tired of the excuses, and honestly, I think most Americans are too. In this video, you're going to see Barrasso use his time to expose some massive hypocrisies in the administration's green agenda, specifically how they are blocking American mining while we rely on child labor in the Congo. It's a tough watch, but it is so necessary. Before we dive into the full breakdown, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to see what's really going on in our Department of the Interior. Let's get into the full clip.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Haaland, the Mineral Leasing Act requires the department to hold quarterly lease sales in each state with federal oil and gas resources. That's 1 lease sale every 3 months in each state with the resources. So in the 9 quarters since President Biden took office, the department has held a grand total of 1 lease sale in each of these states, a single lease sale in over 2 years. Now, I'm glad to see the department has now announced plans to hold lease sales in the 2nd and 3rd quarters of this year. My question is, will you commit to resuming oil and gas lease sales each and every quarter going forward as required by law?
Thank you very much for the question, Senator. And of course, we follow the law in everything we do. We have had lease sales. We'll continue to have lease sales. I know that President Biden believes in energy independence, and we're working toward that goal.
Well, let me just point out, you just said we follow the law, but you haven't followed the law. Under oath, during your confirmation hearings, you sat here and you said, I will absolutely follow the law. But yet, for 9 quarters since President Biden took office, the department has held only 1 lease sale. So I don't know how you consider that following the law. So the question again is, will you commit to resuming oil and gas lease sales each and every quarter going forward as required by law? Yes or no?
Senator, we will always follow the law.
You haven't been following the law. Yes or no? Please answer the question, yes or no. Will you commit, sitting here, to resuming oil and gas lease sales each and every quarter going forward as required by law?
Senator, in 2022, we had lease sales in Wyoming, Colorado, Montana, the Dakotas, Nevada, and New Mexico.
1 lease sale when the law required that you have had 9 quarters worth of lease. So you haven't been following the law. Yes or no going forward?
We are planning 12 onshore lease sales that are in the planning process for 2023. And we're currently planning multiple sales in Wyoming beginning in June, Montana and North Dakota also beginning in June, with additional sales in September and December, Utah, Nevada, and New Mexico, which could be
we know what all the public land states are. That's a good list. The question is, going forward next year, will you commit to following the law each and every quarter as required by law?
Senator, we will follow the law.
Well, you haven't been doing it so far. Let me move on, Mr. Chairman. Last month, the Bureau of Land Management proposed a fundamental change in American land management policy. This illegal proposal, and it is illegal and it doesn't follow the law, would make non-use of lands a competing use. Your proposal would give radical environmentalists a new tool to block activities that are guaranteed in the law, such as grazing, recreation, and mineral development. Please explain why you think putting large swaths of federal lands off limits upholds the multiple-use mandate in the law.
Senator, thank you very much for the question. And the public lands rule is actually a proposed draft rule currently in public comment period that would essentially put conservation on equal footing with our multi-use mandate. It would not foreclose other uses of our public lands, such as grazing or mining or energy development.
Well, the so-called public lands rule that you referred to is nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to eliminate economic activities on federal lands in Wyoming and across the West, and I would strongly urge you to withdraw this disastrous and illegal proposal. Next, earlier this year, you blocked access to federal minerals in an area that contains 88% of our nation's known cobalt reserves. Cobalt's a critical mineral necessary for electric vehicle batteries. Do you know where most of the world's cobalt is mined today?
I beg your pardon, sir?
Do you know where most of the world's cobalt is mined today?
I'm sure you'll tell me.
Well, it's the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So in your view, does the Congo or the United States have better environmental standards?
Senator, the United States has better environmental standards and better worker standards.
So in your view, does the Congo or the U.S. have better protection against child labor?
Senator, with respect to the issue you're speaking of, I assume that it's the Boundary Water watershed, and that was put to us as a copper mine, not as a cobalt mine.
So why are you blocking access, though, to our nation's cobalt resources? You can't possibly be willing to ignore what's taking place in the Congo. It's been all over the news for years. Here are a couple of headlines in terms of the mine that you blocked. National Public Radio: how modern-day slavery in the Congo powers the rechargeable battery economy. The Independent: here it is better, they said, not to be born. Cobalt mining for big tech is driving child labor and deaths in the Congo. The Guardian: like slave labor and master, DRC miners toil for 30 cents an hour and fuel electric cars. The New York Times, Newsweek: go after any of them. Again, why are you blocking access to our nation's cobalt resources? Because that's what you've done.
Senator, near the Boundary Waters watershed, it was put to us as a copper mine. Copper is not a critical mineral in this country.
This is a mineral that is needed to fulfill the president's goal on electric vehicles. It's straightforward. You can't get critical minerals without mining. Mining in America is better for our economy. It's better for the environment. It's better for the people of the world. You need to stop blocking access to our nation's resources. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.
Unreal. Seriously, that was one of the most effective grillings I have seen in a long time. Senator John Barrasso just showed everyone exactly why he is a leader on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. He didn't just show up with a list of grievances, he showed up with the literal law. Let's talk about the first half of that video. The Mineral Leasing Act isn't a suggestion, it's a law that requires quarterly lease sales. Barrasso lays out the math, and it's embarrassing for the administration. In 9 quarters, they've held 1 sale. 1. When the secretary keeps repeating, "We follow the law," and Barrasso just keeps hitting her with the fact that they haven't, it highlights a massive level of arrogance in D.C. right now. I love how Barrasso didn't let her pivot to her talking points about planning for 2023. He stayed on the fact that for 2 years, they've been breaking the law and hurting American energy production in the process. Then we get to the public lands rule. This part is actually terrifying if you care about the economy in the West. Barrasso calls it out for what it is, an illegal attempt to change the definition of land use so that non-use, basically doing nothing, counts as a competing use. As Barrasso points out, that's just a fancy way of giving radical environmentalists a legal tool to shut down grazing, recreation, and mining. He is standing up for the ranchers and the workers in Wyoming and across the country who rely on these lands to survive. But the absolute highlight of this video, and the part that every American needs to see, is the cobalt trap. Barrasso walks the secretary right into a corner. He asks her who has better environmental and labor standards, the U.S. or the Congo. Obviously, she has to say the U.S. Then he drops the hammer. He points out that the administration blocked a mine in the U.S. that holds 88% of our cobalt reserves, the very stuff we need for the electric vehicles the president is forcing on everyone. When he started reading those headlines about modern-day slavery and child deaths in the Congo, you could have heard a pin drop. Barrasso exposed the moral rot at the heart of this policy. How can you claim to be green and progressive when you block clean, regulated American mining and instead force our country to rely on slave labor in Africa? It's a total gotcha moment because there is no good answer for it. Barrasso's closing statement was perfect. Mining in America is better for the economy, better for the environment, and better for the people of the world. By blocking our own resources, this administration is actually making the world a worse place. I'm so glad we have leaders like John Barrasso who aren't afraid to bring the receipts and call out this nonsense. He's a champion for common sense and American workers. What do you guys think? Is it time we stop relying on the Congo and start mining our own resources? I think Barrasso hit the nail on the head. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.